The kind of place where chandeliers cost more than his yearly salary, where guests wore watches worth more than his car. But Daniel never complained. Every night, he came home to his 9-year-old daughter Ella, who believed her daddy was the greatest hero in the world. She would run to the door, throw her arms around his waist, and ask about his day like he had just returned from saving the universe. In his pocket, Daniel always carried an old handkerchief, faded blue fabric with tiny yellow flowers. It had belonged to his late wife, Ella's mother, who passed away when Ella was just 2. He never went anywhere without it. It was his reminder, his anchor. Tonight was different. Tonight was the Lane Corporation's anniversary gala. 500 guests, live orchestra, open bar. Daniel had been assigned to the VIP section, which meant longer hours but better tips. He needed those tips. Ella's school trip was coming up, and he had promised her she could go. Across the ballroom, in a private corner booth, sat Sophia Lane, 24 years old, daughter of Victor Lane, the CEO of Lane Corporation. She wore a stunning midnight blue gown that swept the floor. Her hair was styled perfectly. Her jewelry sparkled under the lights. But none of that mattered to the people staring at her, because on the left side of her face, from her temple down to her jaw, was a thick, jagged scar, the result of a car accident 3 years ago, an accident that had stolen her confidence, her social life, and her smile. Sophia had begged her father not to make her come tonight, but Victor Lane insisted. He wanted the world to see his daughter. He wanted her to reclaim her place. He wanted her to be brave. But bravery is hard when people whisper, when they stare, when they pretend not to notice while noticing everything. Victor sat at the head table, surrounded by business partners and executives. He smiled when he needed to, shook hands when expected, but his eyes kept drifting to his daughter, alone in the corner, chin tucked down, hands folded in her lap. His heart ached. He was one of the most powerful men in the city. He could close million-dollar deals with a phone call. He could fire anyone who disrespected him, but he could not protect his daughter from cruelty. He could not force people to see her the way he did. Beautiful, strong, brave. Daniel noticed her too. He had been refilling champagne glasses near her section when he saw the way she sat, the way she avoided eye contact, the way her shoulders curled inward, like she was trying to disappear. He recognized that posture. He had seen it before, in the mirror, after his wife died, when the world felt too heavy and too loud. Ella had pulled him out of that darkness, with her laughter, with her hugs, with her unshakable belief that her daddy could do anything. And tonight, looking at Sophia Lane sitting alone in a room full of people, Daniel felt something stir in his chest. Not pity, not sympathy, recognition. The music shifted to something upbeat. Couples flooded the dance floor. Laughter rang out. Glasses clinked. The energy in the room soared, except in Sophia's corner. A group of young men in expensive suits hovered near the bar, their voices just loud enough to carry. They were sons of investors, trust fund kids who had never worked a real day in their lives. One of them, a tall guy with slick back hair, nodded towards Sophia and smirked. Man, I almost feel bad for Lane. All that money and he is stuck with that. Another one laughed. Dude, no amount of cash can fix that face. Not even the best plastic surgeons. A third chimed in, louder this time. Who would even dance with her? She should have stayed home. They erupted into laughter. Cruel, careless, loud enough that nearby guests glanced over uncomfortably but said nothing. Sophia heard every word. Her hands tightened in her lap until her knuckles turned white. Her breathing quickened. She wanted to leave. She wanted to run out and never come back. But her father had asked her to stay. So she stayed, because she loved him, even though every second felt like torture. Across the room, a group of women whispered behind their champagne flutes. Poor Victor, one said, shaking her head. Such a successful man. Built an empire from nothing, but stuck with a daughter like that. What a tragedy. Another woman sighed. Money can buy designer clothes and luxury cars, but it cannot buy beauty. That girl is a broken doll. A third woman leaned in. I heard she refuses to go out anymore. Can you blame her? If I looked like that, I would hide too. The words sliced through the air like knives. Victor Lane heard them. He sat at the head table, surrounded by executives who laughed at his jokes. But inside, he was dying. His fists clenched, his jaw locked tight. Every muscle screamed at him to stand up and defend his daughter, but he could not. He knew it would make things worse. It would draw more attention. So he sat there, powerless, angry, heartbroken. Sophia felt the tears coming. She blinked hard, trying to stop them. She had promised herself she would not cry tonight, but one tear slipped free, then another. She had survived the accident, the crash that flipped her car 3 times. She had survived 17 surgeries. The pain, the infections, the endless hospital rooms. But this public humiliation felt unbearable. No one approached her. No one smiled. No one asked her to dance. She watched as couples twirled past her table, laughing and carefree. She watched as strangers paired up and joined the dance floor. But no one looked her way. She was invisible, and yet, she was the most visible person in the room. The music swelled, a romantic ballad. Sophia closed her eyes. She imagined what it would feel like to be held, to be seen, to be wanted. But it was just a fantasy. Then, something shifted. Daniel Cole, still holding his empty serving tray, stopped in the middle of the ballroom. He had just finished clearing a table. He was supposed to head back to the kitchen, refill glasses, grab more appetizers, keep working. But he did not move. He looked at Sophia, at the way her head was bowed, at the way her body seemed to fold into itself, at the way no one seemed to care. His chest tightened. His daughter's voice echoed in his mind. That morning, Ella had hugged him and said, "Daddy, you always help people. That is what heroes do." Daniel set the tray down. He wiped his hands on his apron. He straightened his bow tie. He took a deep breath. And then he walked, not quickly, not hesitantly, just steady, calm, purposeful, toward Sophia. The room did not notice at first. The music played, the dancing continued. But as Daniel got closer, a few people turned, then a few more. Conversations faltered. Eyes followed him. Whispers started. What is he doing? Is he going over there? A waiter? By the time he reached Sophia's table, half the room was watching. Daniel stopped in front of her. He clasped his hands behind his back, and then he bowed, a deep, respectful bow. "Excuse me, miss," he said, his voice calm and clear. "May I have this dance?" The room went silent. The music seemed to fade. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. Every eye locked on them. Sophia looked up, eyes wide with shock. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She stared at him like he was a mirage. Daniel smiled gently. "You do not have to if you do not want to, but I would be honored." Sophia's voice came out in a whisper. You are a waiter." Daniel nodded. "I am, and you are the bravest woman in this room." Her breath caught. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. But this time they were different. Not tears of pain, not tears of humiliation, tears of hope. Behind her, Victor Lane stood up slowly from his seat. His hand covered his mouth. His eyes glistened. He watched, frozen, as the impossible unfolded. Around the room, the whispers started again. Is he serious? A waiter is asking her to dance? What is happening? Daniel extended his hand, palm up, steady, patient, waiting. Sophia stared at it, at him, at the kindness in his eyes. at the courage it took to do what no one else had dared. And then, trembling, she placed her hand in his. The ballroom erupted, not in laughter, not in mockery, in stunned, breathless silence. Daniel led Sophia to the center of the dance floor. His hand was gentle on her back. His grip was firm but respectful. She trembled as they took their first step together. The orchestra, sensing the moment, shifted to a slow ballad, the kind of song that makes time stop, the kind that makes people remember why they fell in love. Around them, the crowd parted. Guests stood frozen, watching, some with curiosity, some with judgment, some with something that looked like shame. Sophia kept her eyes down at first. She could feel hundreds of stares burning into her skin, into her scar. She wanted to pull away, to run, to disappear. But Daniel did not let her. "Look at me," he said softly. "Not at them, just me." She lifted her eyes, met his gaze, and in that moment, something inside her shifted. His eyes held no pity, no disgust, no awkwardness, just warmth, just kindness, just respect. They began to move, slowly at first. Daniel guided her with patience, reading her body language, letting her set the pace. One step, then another, and then Sophia smiled, a small smile, fragile, uncertain, but real. It was the first genuine smile she had worn in 3 years. At the head table, Victor Lane covered his face with both hands. His shoulders shook. Tears streamed down his